Hi, I probably should have said this on the onset. We're going to talk today about whether or not I had anything to do with the recent cancellation of Creepshow Art, which sounds ridiculous to me. It really does. Hey there. A couple of things. Well, I don't know how many things. A few things that I want to mention. First of all, I recognize that I am quite colorful today and that this pattern is a lot of fun. A lot of you guys know that I have been having fun with fabrics and creating my own clothing. But I don't want for all of this pomp and circumstance to detract from the seriousness of the topic of today's video. Fashion is just something that I've been incorporating more and more into the content that I make, and we never know when the topics are going to lighten up. They've been very heavy lately. So if we want to talk about fashion, let's save that to the end or for Twitter or Instagram or something. Also, where do I start? Oliver's crying for me. He thinks it's dinner time. It's not. Or he's brought me his kill for the night a little early. He's a sweet boy. But in all seriousness, this situation is just so, you know, most likely. I always say you know, and then I say I shouldn't tell my audience that they know because maybe they don't know and that's why they're here. But the Creepshow Art stuff has been covered by so many people, and I understand that most people understand that it's a complicated situation. It's so convoluted. There are so many different storylines that in and of themselves are big. So it took me a while. It took me a whole week-long break to just start to get a handle on this stuff. And trust me, I still didn't. I still only today really kind of started to see a clearer picture it's a lot, guys. So I'm going to be relying on my notes, and it might be one of those videos where I just have my computer in my lap for a good bit, just because I want to make sure that I am getting all of the factual information correct and in the proper timeline. And we're going to be jumping around a good bit, but hi, I probably should have said this on the onset. We're going to talk today about whether or not I had anything to do with the recent cancellation of Creepshow Art, which sounds ridiculous to me. It really does. So when everything went down towards the end of May, the beginning of June, I was so inundated with other things going on in the YouTube drama world and working so hard to keep up with it all, and then dealing with a lot of other stressful aspects of this job. I did not have the mental or emotional or even physical capacity to look into the Creepshow Art stuff and figure out what the hell was going on. And it wasn't until the past couple of days of looking into this, actually it was catching Repzilla's video on this and him mentioning my video, and then looking around the internet a little bit more as I was gathering information on what happened and realizing that people were mentioning my video a good bit. And when I say my video, I mean a video that I recently did that featured Creepshow pretty heavily. The idea that I might have had anything to do with this would have been a joke to me. But the more I looked into it, the more I'm wondering, did I have something to do with this? Of course, the only person responsible for canceling Creepshow Art, if these allegations are true, is Creepshow Art. Then I might say, her husband as a possible accomplice. I would also say that Emily Artful and lolcow and bigger players in this story, but I'm just wondering if my video was some sort of catalyst, and that's kind of what I want to look into today. So, grabbing my notes. And by God, if I close this laptop before I'm done with my video, because anytime I do that, my audio cuts off and you guys end up with shit camera audio for the rest of the video. So I'm going to try my best not to do that. But yeah, let's just kind of look briefly at what happened, in case you don't know what happened and why Creepshow Art is essentially canceled right now, and it's looking like there's not really even a chance for redemption at this point. She appears to be super canceled, and I'm sure that things are very difficult for her right now, and why I'm thinking in a compassionate way towards her, I don't know. Please don't hold that against me. This is just so much. It's just so much. So, Creepshow Art was recently outed, more or less, by a gossip forum called lolcow. I had never heard of this place before. I think a lot of us hadn't heard of this place before. Essentially, this forum was a place where you could go and gossip anonymously, but they do have certain rules and guidelines in place, such as do not come in and self-promote, talk about yourself, promote your channel, pose as somebody else, no doxing, rules that make sense. And apparently, Shannon has had a history of breaking a lot of these rules over the course of something like 2.5 years. So ultimately, it looks like Shannon doxed her sibling by posting their Twitter handle, and that seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back, according to the admins at lolcow. Part of lolcow's guidelines do say that if you break these rules, they reserve the right, essentially, to revoke your anonymity. It's a little bit of a weird punishment, in my opinion, but that's their decision to make. And with the stakes that high, I think you'd be an idiot to do the things that this person allegedly has been doing. But what's more than just this doxing of one sibling is that there was so much fallout from this outing by lolcow. And it seemed like the more the story unfolded, the worse and worse the apparent transgressions were. At first, at least from like the little bits and pieces I was hearing, was, of course, oh my goodness, looks like Creepshow was on this forum, posing as different people, starting drama around her own name, making posts pretending to be somebody who hated her, pretending to be people who loved her, creating drama around her own platform, and then it got worse. Oh my goodness, Creepshow was talking shit about her own friends on these forums. And that took a pretty big toll on a certain portion of the YouTube community, those that were friends with Shannon. It's obvious still when you watch these creators that it's still something that they're processing. So my heart goes out to those people, whether I honestly personally care for them or not. My heart goes out to them while they kind of sort through this mess. And then after we found out about that, a content creator by the name of Emily Artful came forward to share her story about her experiences with a stalker and harasser, or really a couple of stalkers, harassers, that she believes to be Shannon and her husband, Anthony. Anthony is Emily's abusive ex-boyfriend. And Emily has a lot of evidence that points to Shannon and Anthony harassing and abusing her over the course of over 8 years. Of course, I keep saying apparent and alleged. This stuff can only be proved so much right now. And so it's not proved. None of this is proved. We're going to put a big blanket statement over all of this. This is all alleged, just like everyone has to say. But I'll do my best to kind of use that language throughout the story. But it looks really bad for Creepshow Art. I think the evidence is pretty damning. That's safe to say. So the Emily Artful story in and of itself is a huge story. So I think it's just best to let Emily tell her story. I'll link her video in the description if you haven't already seen it. I recommend watching it a couple of times. I may link a few other videos that I watched. I'm just thinking off the top of my head now. Omnia, I think, was the first one I watched, but I think Omnia had a couple of parts, if I'm not mistaken. Hopeless Peaches, Emily Artful, of course. There were a few other videos that I watched a couple of times just to really kind of absorb what was going on with all of these. I say these situations, there's just so much. But as far as Emily's story goes, I'm really not going to be talking much about that. But definitely take the time to listen to her story. It is just incredibly important. I will say though, however, where Emily's story is relevant to what we're talking about today is that Shannon has, over the course of several years, talked about, I was going to say pretended, but has talked about having a stalker, a hacker by the name of Amy. And the storylines between Emily's experiences with her stalker so closely reflects Shannon's experiences with her stalker. And yeah, I'm doing this thing. I don't care. Come for me. And so as we talk about these things that have happened more recently, we will find that Shannon will blame a lot of what is on her. She blames on her stalker, Amy. And more broadly, just her hackers in general. So of course, like I said, I'm wondering how the hell did I get involved in any of this? Only tangentially involved, to be clear, but I did kind of go down a rabbit hole with some help. Thank you to the people who kind of helped me make sense of all of this situation and for helping me put together a timeline. So taking a look at when really things started to fall apart, I would say that happened, of course, with the straw that broke the camel's back. Shannon doxing her sibling on March 28th of this year. And then on June 3rd or 2nd, June 2nd or 3rd, was when the lolcow admins ultimately revoked Shannon's anonymity. So like, what happened in between there? What happened between the act that ended it all to the time that was handled and consequences were instilled, more or less? I can't be sure, and I don't know that I'll ever get an answer to this, but there are some people online, on Twitter, on Reddit, on the internet in general, that suspect that the admins at lolcow were waiting for Shannon's next scandal or something to come up, some sort of controversy to come up so that they would be believed. That's the theory that I've seen going around. I don't know why they would want to be believed or why that would be necessary. I don't know if it's to promote the forum. I don't know if it's really to get back at Shannon or if it's just the timing it's coincidental that all of these things happened in between. Who knows? Who knows why it took that long to actually, revoke her privacy. But a couple of things I see here. One user on Reddit said they mentioned the reason waiting was for the next scandal to hit. If they dropped it, then it wouldn't have gotten as much traction. They wanted to make sure she couldn't lie her way out of this mess. And somebody said this also makes sense. It could be a strategic move in that taking a moment when somebody isn't in the public's favor, being more opportune because people are less likely to believe that person if they do try to kind of weasel their way out of a situation. I can see that. Someone else said, I also have an unofficial theory regarding why the lolcow admins released the info when they did. Even though they did state having suspicions of Creepshow Art's post for at least a year and her doxing her sister being the quote-unquote last straw, I wondered why they decided to release it at the beginning of June while the last straw post was at the end of March and the most recent Creepshow Art posts were in mid-April and none were in May. My theory is that they wanted to drop the bomb right when some drama surrounding her became relevant again so it'd catch the most attention. The only drama that occurred that I was aware of since doxing her sister was her involvement with the Gabbie Hanna versus helloleesh thing that occurred from mid to late May. Right when that started to die down in early June, boom. Until a lolcow admin can confirm this is just a headcanon that I'm going with. Haha. And somebody else said, I think they would also do it when drama like this surfaced to confirm said suspicions. And so the drama, of course, that they're talking about right before the lolcow outing, I released a two-parter videos. They were called Gabbie Hanna, I Know What You Did Last Summer. If you haven't already heard me say it 100,000 times, I had a hate mob sent on me about this time last year by Gabbie Hanna and her fans. And now I'm wondering if it was also Creepshow's fans involved, but that's another story. And that went essentially under the radar at the time. Not many people knew about it. No channels picked up on it, and seemingly Gabbie got away with it. However, this year, more channels started to pick up on what happened last summer and have been talking about it. And so I came forward with these couple of videos to really kind of outline the things that happened around the hate mob. And it was a two-parter because there was a lot to explain. So I did say in my first video that in my second video to follow would speak to some of the things that Creepshow Art has said about me and why I don't like Creepshow Art. And kind of taking a moment to look back on just some initial thoughts I had on Creepshow Art before this, I remember there was one thing that I really didn't like. You guys know, I believe, that I am an H3 fan. I have been for a good while now. But one thing that I really didn't like was that around the time that H3 brought Trisha Paytas onto the podcast, the H3 podcast, way before Frenemies or any of the recent drama or anything like that, they brought Trisha on the podcast. And of course, all kinds of drama ensued when Trisha started dating Moses. It was a huge mess. And I remember at that time, seeing a title that was something along the lines of H3 and Trisha Paytas faked drama for views or something like that. And I remember seeing that and having watched this happen on H3, and I was like, well, definitely it's going to get them views and definitely is going to get them money, but it did not look faked at all. It looked very much real. And coincidentally, Ethan has talked on a couple of occasions about how certain creators are making up these titles and essentially stating speculation as fact.
When you were coming on our normal show before we had Frenemies, and she goes, this pissed me off because it's like, they just straight up fucking lie. She goes, H3, and Trisha are faking drama for viewers. Ow. And I was like, you really think this shit's fake? And then the whole thesis was like, wow, H3 has fallen so far. Now he's faking views for clout. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And that is something that I hate so much. I do my best to say when I'm speculating, and I certainly am not going to put a speculation as a title. And so just that in and of itself just rubbed me wrong, just in terms of, the integrity of the creator, especially when commentary is the category you're in. Like, that's just not ethical, in my opinion. So I didn't have strong feelings about Creepshow Art. I was just kind of like, meh, turned off by that. And then when the hate mob happened, of course, I saw a ton of tweets. I have somewhat blacked out on some of the things that I was reading, but I remembered that Creepshow Art had said something along the lines of me being a bad person, or whoever did this to Gabbie being a bad person. I didn't remember exactly what she said. I didn't go back and look for it. I just kind of remembered that was more or less what she said. And here and there, I'd kind of bring up like, yeah, I don't really like Creepshow Art. I remember on the Girlmance podcast, I remember asking Ambrin, like, hey, do you think that there's like a code of ethics around commentary channels talking about not liking other commentary channels? Like, I wonder if there's a certain code, like a code of ethics that we are to follow in terms of like, do we talk about who we really don't like in our own community? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like in the beauty community, that's totally fine. But in a community where I think the reason I'm wondering is because it's like, we're supposed to be as fair and measured as possible. So if you were to compare us to like news channels, which that's a ridiculous comparison, but still, like in the YouTube world, it is kind of like that. You kind of have to not show your biases, but do I just straight up say, I don't like Creepshow Art?
I'm going to say
art?
it.
Does showing a bias against another creator like that, does that like hinder your credibility? Or that was kind of the question that I had on my mind. But I definitely pointed out that I don't love Creepshow Art, but at the same time, I didn't have very strong feelings about her beyond that. I've never really been that invested in her or any situations that she gets involved in, unless they are kind of related to some other things that I was talking about or involved in. So a lot of situations where she was standing up for Gabbie in ways that, as Ambrin put it, very distasteful ways, to include the whole situation around Jimmy Snow and Rachel Oates about 6-7 months ago or so. And at the time, I just remember thinking that she was just this girl that just kind of kept like fumbling over herself and fucking up and trying to gain people's approval and just like doing it in such a sloppy way. I didn't think she was an awful person, just somebody who just couldn't be her own person is more or less the impression I got. So I kind of had a bit of pity for her and didn't really like her, and then that was pretty much it. And then this summer, I went through a folder that I had on a Google Drive where some friends of mine gathered several screenshots. That's what those videos, I Know What You Did Last Summer, were about. And in that video, I said that I would be reading tweets from Creepshow Art because the screenshots that some of my friends had captured were Gabbie Hanna's liked tweets right after the hate mob. And a lot of those tweets happened to be by Creepshow Art. And I was surprised because I remembered her saying that I was something like a bad person. And then looking at these screenshots, I realized, oh shit, she didn't say that I'm a bad person. She said that I'm low-key garbage and that there was so much more there that I didn't know was there. And so while I was kind of like sifting through these screenshots, I started to tweet about it. So to kind of give you a date on this timeline, we're going to go back before the lolcow anonymity revocation. I need to find like an easier way to say that, but going back to around May 15th and May 16th, I was tweeting about Creepshow Art. I said in one tweet, "Oh, I wasn't doing the situation justice. Creepshow didn't just call me a bad person after the hate mob, sharing Gabbie's live stream in a tweet the next day. They called me quote unquote low-key garbage. Oh, this next video is going to be fun." And in a follow-up tweet the next day, I said, "Wow, Creepshow didn't just call me low-key garbage. They had a lot of opinions about me based on the lies told by their beloved, at the time, Gabbie Hanna. Not gonna lie, this is upsetting. Not gonna lie, still gonna talk about it." And I didn't realize that people were going to actually take this to Shannon. I will say that I was kind of pleasantly surprised to see that so many of her followers were willing to hold her accountable instead of just kind of like blindly taking her side, or from what it seemed. I also should note that around that time, I was kind of gauging the opinions of the people around me about Creepshow Art. And a lot of people, like universally across the board, actually, I should say, people's opinions seem to be, "I don't know what to think of Creepshow Art," or "something has always rubbed me wrong," or "I just can't figure out like what I think of her," or what it is, things like that. And so I think this situation really just kind of started to prompt people to start to feel a certain way about her. So people were in comments of her videos asking like, "Hey, are you going to address the things that helloleesh says you said about her?" And at that time, because I hadn't shown the screenshots, Shannon simply told her followers and me in a DM that these things just simply weren't true. For example, this person said on one of her videos, "Shannon, is it true you called helloleesh low-key garbage because of the Gabbie Hanna stuff? I really want to know if you would be that hurtful to her after all she's gone through, and I was very sad to see you had something to do with it." To which Creepshow said, "I don't know where she got that. I haven't addressed her and I don't keep up with her." Which, by the way, I'm going to just say at this point, I'm annoyed with how this person talks, and there's like a certain like way that she speaks, and a lot of statements are worded as questions. But okay, "I don't know where she got that. I haven't addressed her and I don't keep up with her. Any comments I have made that she thinks are about her are not." I also got a DM from Creepshow Art on May 17th. She said, "Hi, I got a comment saying that you saw something where I called you garbage. That's untrue. I'm sorry for any miscommunication. I haven't addressed you and personally am staying away from most Gabbie Hanna related things, both because I think she's genuinely unwell and because she low-key threatened me a while back. Again, sorry for any miscommunication. Stay well." Which, if you ask me, I think she kind of peppered in the Gabbie Hanna bit to maybe garner some sympathy from me. But I was pretty annoyed that instead of asking why I believed her to have said these things, she just simply said it's untrue. And so I expressed this to her. I said, "I'm sorry Gabbie threatened you, though I'm not entirely surprised. I'm very disappointed though, Shannon. You didn't just call me low-key garbage in a tweet where you reposted her live stream about me. You went on to tweet about it a lot, using my name. I want to be civil, but this apology really doesn't validate my frustration with you at all. Thanks." I do want to note, though, the difference between the dates on her DM to my DM. So like I said, she originally reached out to me on May 17th. I responded on May 26th. So just about everything we're going to talk about happened in between these two DMs. Most of it anyway. And so as I expressed, I was still frustrated with her in this situation. I tweeted on May 21st. "Seriously, instead of holding your ground or taking it back, you pin it on me and, dare I say, gaslight me? Shannon, you called me low-key garbage in a tweet in which you reposted Gabbie's stream about me, then went on to make countless tweets about me in which you called me by name." Essentially saying what I would later say in that DM. But in this tweet, I provided a couple of receipts prior to releasing the video that would eventually come out. And in these screenshots, it's irrefutable. That's Creepshow. That is Creepshow talking about me using my name. my real fucking name.
My real fucking name.
This is a super quick reminder to like this video and subscribe to my channel if that's something you want to do. If that's not something you want to do, just don't. I'll shut up and start talking now. I also said that day, seriously pissed off today. Hey Stans, do me a favor since Gabbie quote unquote just told the truth and put the facts out there. Please find where I threatened to say Gabbie manipulated me, something I never say. Creep said I said it. Please find it. Y'all are always right. Find it. And this is because, of course, I'd been going through those screenshots and was responding to something that Creepshow had said. Moving to May 25th, people noticed that there was a good bit of mysterious activity around Shannon's channel. Her community tab was removed or hidden. Her profile picture and banner on her channel were replaced with glitch images that she says her hackers were responsible for. Things that people didn't really buy because the rest of her channel didn't seem to be affected really. And then on May 30th, I put out my video where I would actually read the tweets from Creepshow Art. Now, as I was reading these in that video to you guys, there were some tweets that I was just outright offended and appalled by. There were some tweets that I was kind of just confused by, and likely that was probably because they were kind of like all shuffled and out of order. And if I'm being honest, rereading the things that people were saying about me, I mean, considering the fact that these were Gabbie Hanna's liked tweets, so it was all just shit talk about me. So rereading all of these screenshots, reading these tweets that I've already read so many times, it's causing me to relive this experience, and it is causing me to feel some type of way that nobody has experienced. People have experienced something similar, but nobody knows how that felt. So if you're sick of hearing about it, then just don't watch my videos, especially if that video has Gabbie Hanna in the title or something about last summer in the title. And if that means that's most of my videos, then just don't watch my channel. So those of you who support me, or those of you who are just like casual viewers and aren't leaving those nasty comments, of course, I'm not talking about you, but I do get comments like that. And it's like, you weren't there. You didn't live this. You weren't in my body living that experience as I was. So, yeah, even despite a year of therapy since then and finding amazing people and finding great ways to cope with this stuff, it still is, dude, it was fucking traumatic is what it was, because I still have an emotional reaction when I see this stuff. So that's all to say that through being offended and being confused, I did get to a point where it was just too emotionally exhausting to read these tweets. So I didn't read all of the tweets that I had screenshots of. I don't believe. So I did go back before making this video and pulled up all of those tweets and then did my best to kind of put them in the correct order, or at least an order that was coherent. And so I do want to read those just so that you guys get a better representation of the way Shannon was talking about me at this time. So yay, here's the fun stuff. Most of this was the day after the hate mob on June 19th. Shannon said, "Okay, whoever reached out to Gabbie and did all this, you're low-key garbage. Imagine empathizing with the person and offering them support and turning around and saying they tried to force you into something. Like," followed by, "Imagine thinking someone who was just forced to speak about their assault is being selfish for not talking to you." Which, if you don't know that story, go watch my most viewed video on my channel. I think it is. I think it's my most viewed video. Shannon was basically giving people the rundown of what happened between me and Gabbie Hanna as if she was there. She said, "Alicia and Gabbie talked. Alicia said she liked Gabbie, said she was going to talk about how she felt in a video. Gabbie said she could do that, but it wasn't necessary. Gabbie stopped responding to Alicia. Alicia said Gabbie ghosted her and that she was going to expose her messages. My biggest thing is that she worded it as like a victim. Like, it's completely uncool of Gabbie to talk about this, despite the fact that she told Gabbie she was going to make a video exposing her, and despite the fact that she was the one to push it to the public with her tweets. It came off as, how could Gabbie do this to me when she has a platform and essentially told Gabbie she was going to do it first? Why is Gabbie responding not okay when it's okay for her? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'll tell you why, Shannon, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And a lot of my viewers have already heard this a million times, so I'm going to try to make this quick. I never threatened to expose Gabbie. I never said that I was going to read our messages. I said that I was going to give a brief explanation to my subscribers as to why I was flip-flopping about Gabbie Hanna at that time. I did not say that she was selfish for talking about her assault or something like that. I simply said, I don't want her to be part of my life anymore. She said something that offended me. Her fans and she are behaving in ways that I very much don't agree with. I want to cut off my communication with this person. And to boot, this person has not responded in over a day when I said that they hurt my feelings with something that they said after that person had been responding rapid fire. No, Gabbie Hanna did not owe me any response in any of these situations, but at the same time, I don't owe my friendship to Gabbie Hanna either. If I decide that that does not meet my standards for what I want in a friendly relationship, then that's my decision to make. Just like she has her decisions not to respond to me. And then to go on Twitter and yell like really triggering things about SA and how like that was just, it's stupid. It's stupid to tie that to me somehow. It was a cop-out. It was a cop-out. Gabbie was a fucking cop-out. This is not a Gabbie video. Though, of course, this situation did happen at that time. And I also find it, I don't know what the proper word is. I don't want to say gaslighting or manipulation or like the other words, the buzzwords that people love right now. I do find it to be a bit, maybe manipulative is the right word. Certainly psychologically abusive to some degree. Gabbie was doing this a lot at that time. But to talk shit about somebody, to go so far as to get on an angry hour-and-a-half live stream reading your text with somebody where your fans figured it the fuck out. If my followers figured out who you were talking about, I didn't find out on my own that this live stream was happening. My followers alerted me to the fact that Gabbie Hanna was reading our text messages just because they could tell. So it's just really kind of just fucked up is how I'll describe it. Of Shannon, of Gabbie, of the fans that echoed this sentiment that I'm outing myself. That Gabbie didn't take it to the public. She fucking took it to the public. She was on live stream. Come the fuck on. She was on live stream reading our text messages. And the fact that I tweeted about it because I was really going through it with her fans had already started harassing me before I started tweeting about it. We know who we're talking about here. And they both, when I say both, I mean Gabbie and Creepshow, started to run with this narrative that I was outing myself, that like this wouldn't have been hard on me at all if I just like hadn't tweeted that it was about me. If I had just like kept it secret that these messages were between me and Gabbie. No, that is some psychological abuse to both of you. So I wasn't going to get fired up, at least about that. I actually didn't think I was going to get fired up about much at all because, like I said, I haven't thought that I've had really strong feelings about Creepshow. But reading these things, it's so infuriating, especially to read somebody else who was not there for any of this, and certainly wasn't. I don't think, not even clued in from Gabbie's perspective. Like my friends, my closer friends knew more or less what was going on because I was telling them on a day-to-day basis kind of what was happening. And they knew why I was flip-flopping. But given the fact that in this live stream, Gabbie is explaining everything to Irene, her best friend. I don't think that Creepshow was clued in to what was going on between me and Gabbie during those couple of days. I don't even think Gabbie was clued in to what we were really talking about. So just to watch Shannon kind of give a play-by-play that is unnecessary. It's totally unnecessary. Gabbie and I told you everything that needed to be told. That's why it didn't make sense to you, Shannon, which she admits to now. She admits that she was wrong, but she also says, pretty much Alicia and Gabbie talked and got along, and when Gabbie stopped responding as much, she was like, okay, I'm going to say you manipulated me when legit all you did was talk to me like a person. It's gross. Again, I never said that. I never said anything close to that. You guys know that. I did not say anything close to that. So somebody posted my video and said, I know it's a bit much, but who do you believe more after seeing this? I'm just curious, honestly. To which Shannon says, I take a lot of issue with a lot that was said. One, Gabbie didn't say her name until she made it known Gabbie was addressing her. To say Gabbie put her fans on her is false. Because Gabbie doesn't say her name until she is made aware that she is tweeting, stating it was her. Everybody, just so you know, that hate mob that was sent on me was my fault. I'm the person who invited those people. 2, she mischaracterizes Gabbie's interactions on Twitter. What? Like, how do you, in what way? 3, she never addresses how Gabbie had come forward as a victim and survivor of assault the day before and was reeling from that. And that was going on while Gabbie wasn't responding to tweets or her texts. And 4, I think, and I'm not positive this is the next one that comes next, but I think so. When you look at this, the argument of her saying it's not fair for Gabbie to respond to her and saying, well, why does Gabbie care what I say about her, is really weak, especially when you just said you watched 2 live streams where Gabbie says she takes all of that personally. Like, it'd be one thing to not watch those streams and be like, get over it, and not have empathy in that way. But she said she watched it, she witnessed it, and she empathized with Gabbie until she saw how her words affected her. And then it's weird and gross, to be honest. To be clear, the really mean, awful thing that I said that they're referring to was that I said, I don't agree with everything Gabbie Hanna says, and so I'm a hateful person. And if you believe Shannon that I was mischaracterizing those tweets, I don't know what to tell you. The tweets are out there. So apparently on, what month are we in? On May 28th, after I had shown some of these tweets, not the extent, not the video where I shared all of these, but I'd shown just enough on Twitter for Shannon to realize, holy shit, like, she actually has proof. I have proof that Shannon was talking about me. On the 28th, she sent me an apology via DM on Instagram that I didn't see. And because I didn't see it, I'm assuming, she posted a screenshot of that apology on her IG stories, I think. And so people started to ask me, like, hey, did you see that Shannon address this stuff? She apologized to you. I noticed some people had their opinions about how she went about doing that, but she got my attention. So I'll pull up the DM right now so that I can read to you guys more or less what I have proof of us saying around that apology. What I love about reading this on a computer is that I believe on mobile, when somebody deletes their account or disables their account or whatever, it says something like deleted user when you go to the DM, but on desktop, it shows that I was talking to Creepshow Art. So on the 28th, she said to me, for sure, honestly, I don't remember what I said, but I am truly sorry for the hurt my actions caused. I put a certain amount of respect on her word and made a terrible judgment call, and all I can do is let you know I'm sorry. I should have been more mindful with my influence and perspective, and you are well within your right to hold me accountable and express your frustration. I accept that wholeheartedly and just want you to know that I was wrong. Which, now that I look back on this, she mentioned her influence, so again, I'm starting to wonder, like, were some of those people Creeps fans? Or probably at least crossovers between her and Gabbie. Anyway, I responded on the 31st, which I believe was the day after my video. I said, hey, my patrons alerted me that you put this on your story, I think. I do appreciate the apology. I will be honest, it was much more upsetting with you claiming that these things didn't happen on more than one occasion, in addition to those things you said being all I know of you. Like, I don't need to be actively angry, but it's just, I feel funny about it all, but thank you for the apology. I essentially just wanted to let her know that, like, I appreciate you apologizing, but I'm not happy about this. And, like, I'm not, like, I don't necessarily forgive you, which is difficult for me because I usually, when I get an apology, like, you be nice to me and I bring you in for a hug as long as we're both vaccinated, which I am. There were some voice memos that are gone now that Shannon sent me. They were very much along the same lines of just like that same super flowery apology. I would have appreciated it more if she had left it at that, where she did. But in these voice memos, she went on to talk about how I deserved to feel the way I needed to feel, that she doesn't want absolution. She's not asking for absolution. She understands that I don't need to forgive her. And also, thank you for holding her accountable. That's something that she needs, is to be held accountable. And like, all of those sentiments are great, right? That's how we want people to think. But that's just it. We want people to think that way. But in actuality, this didn't seem real. It seemed disingenuous. It seemed performative because it was just it was over the top. That's what it was. It was over the top to the point where it didn't feel like it was really genuinely attached to the same person that was saying those nasty things about me and who denied it not too long prior to these messages, and just who was human. Like, I think I give pretty decent apologies, but I'm not this fucking flowery with it. So I kind of tried to end out the conversation by just like reiterating. I said, I appreciate that. And just so you know, I've dropped a remark here and there that I don't like Creepshow. She called me a bad person, not remembering exactly what you said. It wasn't until a couple of weeks ago that I went through and read a bunch of screenshots from a year ago and realized it was worse than I thought. So I've been in shock. Not entirely sure what to think right now, but I thank you for sending that. So again, that's me saying, like, I appreciate you sending that. But I still don't like it. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I can't say I forgive you. And she said, I'm not asking for absolution or forgiveness because I understand the hurt and you deserve to feel and express that however you see fit. I was wrong and I need to be held accountable for that. And at this point, I'm just kind of annoyed, to be honest with you. And I said, thanks, Shannon. And she said, you shouldn't thank me for giving you basic respect. Again, stay well. So, like, I walked away from this situation honestly feeling more or less like how I had been feeling about Creepshow Art. I didn't like the things that she said about me, and I didn't like some of the things she stood for on the internet, and I didn't like the way she titled those damn videos with speculation is fact and all that. Sounds like maybe Jake is home. But she apologized, so I was just gonna be like, whatever, I'm for the most part done talking about this and kind of pretty much done thinking about it. We'll probably continue to not like her. But again, I have not been emotionally invested in this woman. And so I was going to continue not being emotionally invested in this woman. Now hearing about how there might be a connection with all of this stuff, I'm a little more invested. So I will note that when I watched Emily Artful's video and heard the way that Shannon would talk to her in DMs, particularly when she was speaking to her as Shannon, and kind of the way she was like, no, I totally understand. I totally understand why you might think this or that. Like, you have every right to feel that way. Like, I don't mind you holding, I think she might have even made remarks about being held accountable, or you got to do what you got to do. You got to feel the way you got to feel, all of that. And when I heard that, I was like, ugh, this sounds a little too familiar. This sounds not exactly like the way Shannon spoke to me, but the tone was just so similar that it gave me the creeps, because I realized looking back that thing that annoyed me, that thing that I didn't quite buy, was actually, how do I put this? Because all of the things that we talked about around Emily Artful, that's all alleged, right? But the things that were alleged, that was true crime documentary level stuff. It was very, very creepy. It was really, really scary. And no, I didn't think that this was going to happen to me, but it's creepy to know that I got close enough to someone to get that same tone in certain messages. And so it felt creepy. It's almost like a near-death experience, like stepping out onto the street, almost getting hit by a car, and then like stepping back and still being scared. Like, and then even when you think back on the situation the next day, you're still kind of scared that almost happened. Not that it almost did, but I hope you understand. It's like too close for comfort. So didn't expect this. I should start to expect it more, just because, to be quite frank, people are starting to recognize my videos more, to watch my videos more, and to recognize my name. And so if I say something, people are more likely to talk about it. Not something I'm used to. Not that I'm like trying to explain anything away, because there's nothing wrong with this. But people were starting to ask her more. People wanted her to address the things that she said to me, or rather about me. She was receiving a lot of criticism that I didn't expect, but I'm okay with. But the interesting thing, we're talking about right around May 31st or so. So this is May 31st. A lot of her fans are questioning her. A lot of viewers are questioning Shannon, asking her to address these things the claims that I'm making in my video. And at the same time, Shannon is leaving group chats that she was in with her friends within the community after, according to Repzilla, kind of love bombing all of them.
She was leaving chats back in May. It was like she knew something was coming. And I've talked to several other people about this situation, and they do feel like about middle of May, we were being love bombed. She was telling us that she was happy to have us in her life. And then she started leaving chats. I saw her leave Discord group chats. There were other strange things. While she was being criticized by helloleesh, she started hiding her community tab and blamed it on hackers. Even changed her icon to a glitch, because that's what hackers do instead of deleting videos. And then she enabled it. So essentially what had happened is she said that hackers hacked her YouTube Google account, changed up her pictures to glitch icons, disabled the community tab while she was receiving hate.
So more like really weird, odd behavior just happening to coincide with these events that I was involved in. So curious. And to clarify, our last DMs with each other happened on June 1st. I think I said June 3rd or June 2nd earlier in my video was the day that she was exposed by lolcow. It looks like it was the 2nd. June 2nd, she was exposed. I don't know how necessary it is to kind of read to you the message from the admin because, like I said, this has been so widely covered, but at the same time, I know that a lot of my viewers do appreciate when I read things versus just flashing them on the screen. And the admin's involvement in this is important. So I'll just go ahead and read the what I think was the kind of the outing post. They show a screenshot that looks like it's a message from Creepshow to who knows who. She says, I just kind of got bored of lolcow, to be honest. I don't check it anymore. These admins seem kind of sassy. I'm not upset about it. But they say, as many users in this thread are aware, Shannon's posts on lolcow haven't exactly been subtle. We've decided to compile her post history after she escalated her behavior by sharing her sister's social media in order to deflect from criticism toward herself. Beyond that, she has been anonymously promoting her videos and Patreon and YouTube membership to farmers and making posts about herself to either white knight or insult herself. For many years, we've had a policy to reveal post histories of users who go to great lengths to use lolcow.farm to propel their own online presence. You can read the full post history here. And then that's kind of where some people started to put a couple of pieces together and speculate as to whether or not my video and my interactions with her had anything to do with why this came out when it did. A couple of examples. So in this screenshot, people on lolcow were kind of talking about the situation. Someone said in her most recent video about Lisa Frank, she's trying to get pity by having a quote unquote cancer scare. Of course, she doesn't have cancer, but she is definitely back to cranking up the quote unquote feel bad for lil ol' me. Also funny, she mentions death threats when she sent her rabid fans on people with zero remorse and doxing people. Zero self-awareness. I can't believe this is a woman approaching her 30s. She acts like a 15-year-old. Looks like somebody posted either my video or just the thumbnail. Somebody else said Creepshow back at it again with clinging to popular YouTubers who are morally corrupt until it no longer suits her, thus allowing her to pretend that she never did anything wrong, which I assume is about Gabbie Hanna. Somebody said, can't wait to see how she tries to dig her way out of this one. Someone else said, will a kind farmer provide a summary? And someone says, this girl, Alicia, had beef with Gabbie Hanna. Creepshow obviously talked to Gabbie and got told lies about her and what she said and did, which Shannon then went off about on Twitter, calling her garbage, painting Gabbie as altruistic and empathetic. According to Alicia, all of the things she said were completely untrue or nonsensical. In the video, starting around 47 minutes, but watch the whole video for context. Thank you to whoever you are. Alicia just goes through screenshots of Creepshow's old tweets about her and either says this is untrue, provides receipts, you can't, or can't make sense of what she's even trying to say. Somebody said the comments calling Shannon out for her tweets shown in that video are getting traction and likes faster than she can delete them. I actually didn't know about that until just now. Somebody said, so it really is the same old. Anyone can have Shannon as their personal guard dog as long as they throw her a little niceness bone and have enough viewers to be valuable to her. Yikes. And in another post, this might have been prior to that, somebody posted my tweet calling out Shannon and actually showing proof that she was in fact talking about me before my video came out. Somebody said, for what it's worth, helloleesh is fed up with Shannon and is shitting on her in her new I Know What You Did Last Summer videos. Somebody said she was a piece of shit to a lot of people. I feel like it's going to hit her all at once. Another yikes. Someone said she's locked her Instagram DMs, now claiming it's because people are sending her images of self-harm. I think people were confronting her, demanding she take accountability. Somebody else said her lying is going to make the situation much worse. People just want her to take accountability and apologize to the people she hurt. She's up on her soapbox, shitting on everyone else on the internet, but Lil Miss White Savior Complex can't do any wrong. And then they talk about art. So for what it's worth, on June 4th, a Twitter user by the name of Dish Soap something or other tweeted a whole thread that kind of chronicled the drama around Creepshow Art and the lolcow expose, including my video and my involvement with Shannon. So I have some speculation as to whether or not that user is the admin of lolcow. I would love to get answers around this, but at the same time, if it's something that is too sensitive in nature, I understand if we'll never get an answer around this. And it should be noted too that on that day, June 4th, Shannon posted to her community tab this really long post I didn't read. I didn't care to read. Like I said, not that invested in the girl. But just kind of conveniently, her community tab was available again. So if I claim that Shannon did do anything that I don't have proof of in this video, my apologies. It was alleged, and I'll do my best to fix that in editing if there are any problems there. But yeah, at this point, let me not close my laptop, but just set it down. At this point, I'm just really kind of curious as to whether or not what I had to say had any involvement in what essentially canceled Shannon. And there's part of me, and I hope that you are compassionate with me, feeling kind of compassionate towards Shannon. There's part of me when I think about this, I think like, oh my God, what if I caused a person to lose their entire platform and thus their career? And what if like she's really going through it and it's all because of something that I said in a video? At the same time, I'm looking at a situation where some really bad behavior was put to an end and certain friends were made aware of things that they probably should know, but it's still sad. And it appears as though this situation with lolcow allowed Emily Artful the strength, I think, to come forward and really tell her story. And of course, there were some posts on the lolcow forum that played a role in this whole story, especially as you're kind of comparing the Amy and Emily story. So yeah, I don't know the answer. If you have any more answers than I do, please reach out to me somehow. Leave it in the comments, tweet at me, send me a DM. I'd like to know if the admins had any more to say about why they decided to take action when they did. That's what I'd like to know. I don't want to talk too much longer. Plus, it's Friday. People are out there partying. You probably saw, or you might have seen, like if you follow me on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, if you go check it out, you'll see that I made this skirt. And I actually made a matching version of it for Moses, Jake's cat. I don't know whether I'm going to plan to keep the skirt or if I plan to sell it, but one thing that I would like to do with a lot of the outfits that I wear in videos that I may not plan to wear again, or things that I decide to make and may only wear once, I'm thinking that I might create a Depop and sell some of these things online. So I'll keep you posted on any progress that happens there, if it does. But in the meantime, I really appreciate those of you who came here just to hear out my side of this, to maybe provide any more insight that you might have, or just kind of any speculation that you might have. A special thank you to anybody who really honestly believes me when I tell these stories and believes that I'm doing my best to tell these things honestly and with as little bias as I can, being the person who's at the center of so many of these things. So that said, I don't want to keep this any more long-winded. Like I said, sounds like my man just got home and it's Friday night. I'm going to go like do something really cool, like a puzzle. So to you, the one person who's still watching, who's not me, I really so appreciate you coming back, watching this video to the very end. If you've liked the video, thank you so much. If you haven't liked the video and you're here, please do so if you liked the video. And if you are new here or you haven't subscribed yet and you're curious about what might come up next on my channel, please subscribe. You can always undo that. But otherwise, yeah. You guys asked me to address the Creepshow Art stuff and I there it is. Yeah, I did it. And I don't know if we'll continue talking about this, but we'll see. All right. I'll see you guys most likely in the next BAP. All right, thanks. Bye.